Okay, picture this. You're driving home, the radio's playing, your mind is totally on what you're gonna have for dinner, and suddenly, boom, your rearview mirror lights up with those unmistakable, flashing red and blue lights. Instantly, your stomach drops, right? Your heart rate spikes. It's a universally stressful moment, whether you've done something wrong or not. Well, welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're gonna recreate just a tiny bit of that anxiety, but for really good reason. We're going to objectively examine your legal rights during a traffic stop, mapping out exactly what you need to know to protect yourself. So can the police legally search your car without your permission? That is the exact high-stakes question we're diving into today. This is a scenario that plays out thousands of times a day across the country, and yet it's surrounded by so much confusion, hearsay, and frankly, Hollywood fiction. Our goal here is simple. We're going to separate those common myths from actual U.S. law. To demystify all of this, we'll walk through the anatomy of a traffic stop chronologically. First, a baseline rules of the road. Second, consent versus probable cause. Third, searching without a warrant. Fourth, exactly what you should say. And finally, some common mistakes you definitely want to avoid. Let's kick things off with Section 1, the traffic stop baseline. Right off the bat, it is absolutely crucial to set a quick boundary. The information we're breaking down right now is based on federal constitutional baselines, basically the overarching rules of the land. But keep in mind, traffic and search laws can actually vary significantly from state to state. In fact, your specific local laws and state constitution might offer you even more protections than the federal standard. So while this explainer gives you that vital foundational framework, remember that state lines really do matter. What's really fascinating here is that we're talking about the absolute bedrock of your privacy rights. The Fourth Amendment is literally the invisible shield between you and the government. The baseline rule in the U.S. is that police generally need legal justification to intrude on your privacy. They can't simply dig through your personal property on a whim. There has to be a standard of reasonableness. But, how exactly does that apply to a car moving down a public highway? That brings us to Section 2, consent versus probable cause. We hear this legal jargon on TV cop shows constantly, right? I have probable cause. But it's vital to understand what that actually means in the real world. Explicitly, probable cause requires actual, concrete evidence. It cannot just be a gut feeling. It can't be a hunch or just because the driver looks a little nervous. It has to be tangible. So, for example, if an officer approaches your window and sees illegal contraband just sitting right there on the passenger seat, or if they smell something definitively illicit, well, that immediately shifts the situation from a routine stop to probable cause. Think of this as two totally different legal realities you might find yourself in. On one side, you have a consent search. If an officer asks to search your car and you say yes, well, they don't need any evidence whatsoever. You've just waived your Fourth Amendment right by giving voluntary permission. But consider the alternative, probable cause. If the officer already has legal evidence to search your car, they aren't going to ask for your permission because, frankly, they simply don't need it. Understanding which reality you're dealing with during a stop changes absolutely everything. Let's move to Section 3, searching without a warrant. Now, because cars are inherently mobile, meaning evidence can literally just be driven away before a judge ever signs a warrant, the Supreme Court recognizes a few major automobile exceptions. Let's break these down quickly. First is the plain view doctrine. This just means if an officer legally stops you and sees something illegal sitting right out in the open, they can search. Next is incident to a lawful arrest. Basically, if you're being arrested, they can search the immediate area for weapons or evidence. Then there are inventory searches. This happens if your car is legally towed and impounded. They catalog everything inside to protect against theft claims later. And finally, exigent circumstances. This refers to emergencies, like if they believe evidence is actively being destroyed in real time. So the main takeaway here, warrants are the rule, but vehicles have some pretty massive exceptions. All right, on to Section 4, what you should say. Think of this as your practical playbook for those roadside interactions. When deciding what to say, just keep it to polite greetings. If an officer asks to look in your car, firmly but politely state, I do not consent to searches. You don't need to be aggressive about it, just very clear. Now, if the stop is dragging on, you can simply ask, am I free to go? That helps determine if you are actually being legally detained. Now, what should you absolutely avoid saying? First, do not admit guilt. If they ask, do you know how fast you were going? Don't guess or confess. Also, avoid making small talk that might accidentally incriminate you. And whatever you do, please do not start loudly arguing constitutional law on the shoulder of the highway. Spoiler alert, it has literally never helped a case. And finally, Section 5, common mistakes and advice. Let's build a chronological safety plan for you right now. Step 1. Pull over safely the very moment you see the lights. Step 2. Turn off the engine, roll down your window, and keep your hands visibly resting on the steering wheel. This lowers the officer's threat radar immediately. Step 3. Provide your license and registration when asked. Don't reach for them abruptly before they even ask. Step 4, like we just talked about, clearly state if you refuse a search. And Step 5, if the officer continues to press you with questions, remember you have the right to remain silent. Sticking to these steps ensures you're handling the stop safely and legally without just voluntarily handing over your constitutional rights. I really cannot emphasize this next point enough. A massive, potentially life-altering mistake drivers make is trying to physically block an officer from searching their car. If you've clearly stated, "I do not consent to this search," and the officer proceeds to search anyway, step back. Do not interfere. Do not get physical. If the search is truly illegal, any evidence they find can be thrown out of court later. But if you physically resist, you're going to get hit with separate, very real charges like obstructing justice or assaulting an officer, totally regardless of whether the search was illegal or not. Stay calm and let your lawyer handle the facts later. There's a golden rule that perfectly summarizes everything we've covered in our explainer today. The side of the road is not a courtroom. It's just not the place for debate, cross-examination, or litigating your Fourth Amendment rights. Your job on the side of the road is to be safe, be polite, clearly state your non-consent, and survive the encounter without giving up your rights unnecessarily. Protect your rights verbally in the moment, for sure, but fight the actual legal battle in front of a judge in a safe, controlled environment. So I'm going to leave you with a quick piece of homework. We've covered the federal baseline today, but do you know the specific nuances of where you drive every single day? Take 10 minutes after this to look up your state's specific vehicle search laws. Honestly, it's knowledge that could dramatically change an incredibly stressful situation. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. If you found this breakdown helpful, please like, subscribe, and drop a comment below with your own experiences or questions about traffic stops. Keep learning, stay safe out there, and I will see you in the next explainer.